All right, thank you for staying with the State of the Nation. The discussion continues. Let's touch a bit on matters food security, especially on the fake fertilizer, and then get into the political sphere where there's a lot going on there. But Joe, start us off on this one. Who should be blamed for this fake fertilizer circulation? Because the CS, Mythical Inturion, the other day was with you guys at the Senate and said that only 3,000 bags were somehow not proper. Before that, the Deputy President had said there are about 50,000 bags. And then after that, the President said mambo ni matatu. So who's fooling who here and who should be blamed for this?
Thank you, Trevor. I think, you know, once a product or goods like fertilizer, once they have been they have gone out there, distributed, it may not be very easy to get to know the exact numbers. And I think that explains why maybe the Deputy President and the CS for Agriculture gave different figures, because, you know, it's out there. So information is coming in every day, and so things keep changing. So I think that is the reason why information may not be, there may be some contradicting pieces of information regarding the quantities of the fake fertilizer. But let me say this, Trevor, that for me, I think it's not just an issue of fake fertilizers. For me, I think, and very genuinely, from the deepest of my heart, I think they sabotage. Because, Trevor, anybody who, I mean, we have seen fake items before. One thing about a fake is that it looks like the original, you know? So for this, for me, I find it very weird that it's not just something that looks like fertilizer and it's fake. It is something that is totally different from fertilizer. We have had reports of bags with stones and donkey feces. So surely, I don't think it's a factory that made that.
So who is sabotaging who?
That's what I'm saying, and that's why we always have investigations. And I'm glad we have two lawyers here. That's why we never take anything at face value. But for me, I think they sabotage to show or to prove that the government subsidy on fertilizer is not working. Because why would, I mean, if somebody was driven by some need to make economic gain, then they would make something that looks like fertilizer, but that does not have components.
Yeah.
But to package donkey feces with stones, surely, for me, I think that is that's an act of sabotage.
Okay.
And so I think I applaud the efforts so far made by the government through KEBS. 8 officers from KEBS have already been, suspended, which is a good thing. But even as we blame KEBS again, we must always remember that KEBS only does what we call, they only do some sample testing. What goes out in big numbers, KEBS may not know. But then I think what KEBS may need to do is to go a step further. After they have tested the samples, I think they should be making some random checks on whatever is in the shelves and in stores to see to it that this thing, such a thing does not happen again. And there are so many fake products out there. Yeah. So I think even though I'm on government side, I think KEBS need to pull up their socks.
But who does the buck stop with?
Of course, sometimes always the buck will stop with the minister, but when they sabotage, what would the minister do? I mean, donkey feces, stones, that is sabotage. Okay. That is not an economic crime.
Manduku, is this an issue of sabotage, greed, or a broken system? See, because they were supplied through NCPB. Those are
This is a perfect case of a broken system. How would you explain that someone is so unscrupulous, gets into the manufacture, distribution, transportation, warehousing, and eventually these fertilizers reach the farmers without the government knowing? The government, besides KEBS, has a National Intelligence Service. Mm-hmm. They also have another agency called the Anti-Counterfeit Authority. Mm-hmm. And it's ironical that Anti-Counterfeit Authority keeps snooping at iPhones at the port, saying they're counterfeit, and yet things are being manufactured right under their nose in Kenya without anyone noticing. To add pain to injury, or injury to pain, the minister at first instance denies. He says, oh, everything is right. In fact, he blamed the opposition, if you remember. He said this is an opposition scheme.
Maybe that's why Mheshimiwa is talking about sabotage.
I think they sabotage themselves. They shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
To me, again, it goes down to competence. Is the minister competent to handle this docket? From where I sit, certainly not. Because he became reactionary.
Yeah.
And to track something is so simple. Even a first-year student will design for you what we call a barcode. And you can track from manufacturer to the farmer, if the government is serious about it. Here is a perfect case where you allow your friends to get into the system, manufacture a few fake bags, so that there's beneficial gain. Fertilizer is not a needle.
Yeah.
It's not a pin. It's in 25-kilo bags. And when you're talking about 3,000 bags, 5,000 bags, the number keeps changing depending on who talks about it. But to me, the worst part is you're taking advantage of the farmers. And ordinarily, the farmers are the real hustlers, really. If there's anybody called a hustler, it's a farmer. This person has traveled all the way from Kurusoi to Molo to pick 3 bags. He has hired a boda, and they turn out to be fake.
Yeah.
And you do nothing about it.
In the planting season.
And life continues as if, oh, there was nothing. Oh, we'll replace those bags tomorrow. We will not agree with my colleague Ruto here.
Yeah.
The government has failed its farmers. It has failed in its duty. More than that, it is now trying to make things look or appear as if they were all well. Some of us, it's really touching because we represent farmers, real farmers, who struggle to even afford that bag of fertilizer. But I think, and I hope that we'll see heads rolling.
Yeah.
And to me, the biggest head should be the minister himself.
Not the official.
Again, it is a question of, do they have the call of duty? Because for me, if I was a minister and I hear the fertilizers are fake, I would resign because what am I doing then?
It's no confidence in
Moral conscience.
Moral conscience. It's never there.
Okay.
So
They bring in a guru.
yeah, so Trevor, for me,
Yeah.
the so-called 8 Capes guys is a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Because they are not the distributors of the fertilizers. As a matter of fact, I can argue here that I believe that the Capes guys were actually given the right fertilizer and they okayed it. But the fake one was sent directly to NCPB, the National Cereal and Produce Board.
Yeah.
Okay? And like Dr. Manduka has rightfully said, going after those 8 workers is just an excuse. The minister, Mithika Linturi, should have resigned by now, or even PS. And when the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya says that 50,000 bags were fake, what action have they taken? Zero. The President himself, who prides himself as a farmer, it should be close to his heart that fellow farmers are actually being mistreated as himself. So he should really have taken action by now. What Kenyans are asking want to see action taken.
Yeah.
You know, people are failing the offices. In fact, let me sum it up this way. You know, this fake fertilizer goes into the heart of food security. If you look at any country in the world that is secure, in terms of national security, food security is one of those ingredients. It's not just about military security and all that, food security. So when you threaten that security of a country through these fake fertilizers, it's actually tantamount to genocide. When government institutions are actually supplying fake fertilizers, they're actually killing the masses. And therefore, in my view, this is actually genocide by state. It is that serious because you are starving. You're going to starve masses. You know, so this is not really a light matter. And for me, the fact that government has so far not taken action, the president himself has not taken action, even as he claims to be a farmer himself, it's excusing these transgressions to go on. And yes, there's too much incompetence in this government, and I think probably that is the modus operandi. You put in fakeless fellows in charge of our government institutions because you probably benefit. Because there are even images, there are even videos going around on social media where actually somebody recorded, I think one of the guy transporters actually shared a video and said, my conscience could not allow me to do this. They were filling those fertilizer bags with limestone from Kariandusi, and is supplied to NCPB. And like Manduku said, surely there has to be a tracing order. Who supplied these fertilizers? There has to be some record somewhere. Why are we not getting these people? Yeah. Including even the transporter. Where did you get this stuff from? I want to believe that guy was a whistleblower, but somebody was given a tender or a contract to supply these fertilizers. Who is that person? We must be able to trace from source to the stores at NCPB. Okay. Yeah. So this is not rocket science, Trevor. Okay. It's something that can like we have intelligence, we have the police, we have the counterfeit agency, we have we have all the means to actually establish who has done what. Okay. We're dealing with a bandit government.
Willis.
Yes. One thing that we must start by is who was the #1 advertiser of this fertilizer thing in Kenya? William Ruto himself is the one who has been very vocal about fertilizer from the first day he came into office. So that we should not even scapegoat KEBS, NCPB, the minister. The buck stops squarely with him. He was the #1 promoter of this fertilizer thing. And he must take ownership of its failure. I say this because, in my view, this whole scheme of fertilizer, it was meant to fail. It was never about food security. It was just about coming up with an easy way out to fleece our money. Because it was about food security as an intervention. It could have been about we start from farmer training, crop identification, land preparation, soil testing, seed identification, seed distribution, fertilizer, post-harvest procedures, market access. We will have been seeing him marketing an entire agricultural value chain that leads to food security. But he opted for the easier way out, the optics. I'm throwing fertilizer at every Kenyan. That will solve all your food security problems. Knowing very well that even if you gave people fertilizer without appropriate seeds, you've given them a DAP fertilizer when they don't need a DAP, they need a urea fertilizer on their soils. You've not told them which crop to plant. So the whole system was meant to fail. The recent scandal is just now the public advertisement of that entire scheme. And if it were not for social media, people coming out to start sharing this information out there, we will never have known the full story of what was going on. Because for the first time, we had Kenyans all over capturing and opening up their bags of fertilizer and telling us what they had received. It was never meant to be that way, because we don't have an opportunity previously to engage with a farmer in Kirinyaga, a farmer in Nandi, in Kuresoi. But for the first time, we could get them on social media, take a short video and show, this is the fertilizer I've bought. I open it up, look at what I've gotten. And it has come from a government facility. It did not come, the whistle was not blown from an insider. It was not government investigations, it was not police, it was not NIS that unearthed this fertilizer scheme. Yet they had the capacity, the technical know-how, they have the presence in all this locality. They could have brought this up. It is Kenyans who brought it up. If these Kenyans never brought it up, we will not be discussing this fertilizer thing. We will have gone through a bad harvest season. Yeah. But I say the buck stops with William Ruto. And William Ruto, as the #1 promoter of this fertilizer scheme, he must be the one to be called out that this is your shit and you must deal with it.
What's your language?
Remember, yes. I think there is another very important point that we cannot, we must say. I look at, for example, the double speak from various government officials, including folks like Akena Itumbi. I don't know what their role in government is. When he mocks the whole food security by saying that, when I was growing up, we used to use donkey waste, that's really taking lightly the whole question of food security. And this kind of talk from people in government is really disheartening. And I say this because if you go back memory lane, way back to 1975, if I'm not wrong, when we had that proposed Kenrin, is it Kenrin? Kenrin, fertilizer factory. So it sums up that we've never really been serious as a country to ensure that there is food security. What happened to that factory? that in the 21st century we are still talking about importing fertilizers from, I don't know, Ukraine. Before this election, the last election, we were saying that, because of the war in Ukraine and Russia, that's why we are affected. We are always full of excuses, but we keep on undermining the very, very institution that we create that should be able to actually enhance our own food security and agriculture. But the careless talk from government must also be called out. And that is the whole question of responsibility. Yeah. Who really is taking responsibility for this? When things are good in the country, of course the president will say, we have done this, we have done that. But when things are wrong, you pick some small people, they are cabs and whatever. So this buck must stop with the president. He is the president of the Republic of Kenya, and he is the guy in charge of the country right now. Yeah. And therefore, on matter of security, which is really grave to me, and by the way, I'm not surprised. There's a debate, Trevor, maybe we can have it another time, on this so-called New World Order and how they want to control food security globally. Yeah. And I believe this could be one step towards actually that one New World Order, that you control agriculture, control food security, and therefore displace population to free land. Okay. For these globalists and global corporations to take over land for whatever, carbon credits and whatever. So I'm not so surprised. Yeah. There could be a correlation, and we need to do more research on this. I know people are speaking about it eloquently now in Kenya and also outside this country. So I'm not surprised. Okay.
But Joe, what should the president do? Because he's bound by the law to also wait through the whole process. If there's an investigation, let it go to the conclusive end. He has spoken and said, mambo ni matatu.
In fact, Trevor, that is why I was raising my hand so that I could respond to what both Dr. Ekuru-Aukot and Willis have said. Let us not trivialize this debate, Trevor. When Willis says that His Excellency the President was the greatest promoter of, he insinuated of fake fertilizer. I mean,
no. I didn't say fake. I said that's what I'm saying. He was the biggest promoter. He was the greatest promoter of the fertilizer intervention in our farming. That's it. And that was sold from last year. I'm not talking about this year. This was his baby.
Let me make my point, Willis. Somebody can be sabotaged. Yeah. And each one of us here, when we have been sabotaged at one point in time, especially when you want to achieve your objectives through other people. They may not buy your vision. They may be, their loyalties could be somewhere else. Yeah. And that's why I started by saying, I mean, a fake must look like the real thing. So, please, let us not drag the president here. Dr. Ekut says that the president has done nothing. I mean, like you say, the president can only work through agencies, government agencies and other agencies. That is why chemicals operations have been suspended by KEBS. That's why SBL has been summoned to Parliament to come and explain. Surely, it cannot be that the president does everything. He has to do it through, institutions, through agencies, and things are being done. Okay. That's why we have we have these people suspended from KEBS. That's why chemicals operations have been suspended. Yeah. That's why SBL has been, and the two
Senator, why are you undermining the role of the president?
Just a minute, let me conclude. The two committees on agriculture in both houses are actually investigating. They have even visited the NCPB stores. Yeah. They have visited these farmers. The government, through the president, has promised that any farmer that bought this this fake fertilizer will be compensated. Yeah. Surely you cannot say that nothing is being done. Okay. Surely you cannot blame the president for everything that happens out there, even as the agencies are on that. Okay. So let us also be fair to the president and to everybody else. Right.
So in similar fashion, the president should also stop then hogging all the good things that happen in this country, because he cannot cherry pick that if something good happens, it's because of me. Then when things are bad happening, it's not me.
But
you cannot cherry pick.
I think
doesn't Ruto have a point? Because the president...
Ruto has a point, but I've learned a new word from him today.
Yeah.
Sabotage. It is a common thread in everything that doesn't seem to work. Someone is sabotaging the government. Someone is sabotaging the president. And so it's a good way to escape from taking responsibility and say, I'll sabotage it. But my question is this. We had this excellent fertilizer subsidy program sometime last year. To the best of my knowledge, we've never been told how much money was spent on it. We don't know the resultant harvest. And even as Willie says, this whole value chain was never really explained or even implemented. And so a failure in any of these stages will result in poor harvest.
Yeah.
But most important, we also heard about mechanisms of having elaborate post-harvest mechanisms. So after we get all this food, are we able to store it for the next season? The answer is no, because we've not seen action from the Ministry of Agriculture or from the government on ensuring that whatever is harvested can be safely stored or even value added for the next season. And so I want to disagree with Senator Ruto on this one, that when things fail, the best approach, even in resolving a crisis, is first to accept that we're in a mess. Then how do we get out of the mess? But you can't keep saying everything is okay, sabotage, investigation, agencies. The president is a very powerful person. He's got executive powers. He can take action as he awaits those agencies to investigate. What if they take 6 months, 8 months? We'll be through the harvest season already. He's talking about compensating farmers who pick the wrong fertilizer. Where is the budget? Has it come to the National Assembly for appropriation? The answer is no. No. So it's just lip service.
And the planting season is actually something that...
Farmers today in Nakuru have just planted, half of them with the wrong fertilizer. And you're telling them you'll compensate them? What will you compensate them with? Fertilizer? How much money? How many bags?
Reopen the farms.
We'll reopen the farms and compensate them?
Okay. Bring the rain.
Okay, but realistically speaking, what Ruto is trying to say is that there has to be due process. So say, for example, president wakes up and says...
Remember the Bill of Rights. You cannot just
agriculture. But then there's investigation.
I agree. There has to be due process.
Yes.
But there is also need for immediate action to be taken.
Okay.
Because we are not just dealing with anything small here. We are talking about security of a country in relation to food. You know, food security is a big issue. And this is not an issue that we can say, oh, let's leave it to the minister. This is an issue that has a potential of social implosion in a country. Should the president actually sit back and say, oh, you know, let the minister or the PS or KEBS handle this? This is a matter of national security. And this is why we are saying the president must come in handy. You know?
There was a famous case.
Let him finish, yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, the president must come in handy because of the importance of the... We're talking about national security, you know, Trevor. And I think, with all due respect to Senator Ruto, why are you undermining the president's authority by saying that he should not be involved in a matter of this, you know, magnitude? I think the president actually should speak, after all, the same way that Willis has reminded us, that it was the president who was drumming up, chest thumping about, you know, fertilizers. So now that the food security is being threatened by this so-called fertilizer, we should also hear him now speak so eloquently the way he spoke about fertilizers last year. So it's no excuse.
But he said the crooks mambo ni matatu.
Yes.
No.
It's okay. Hata kama mambo ni matatu. Actually, I disagree with the president. Mambo si matatu kwa hii nchi. Mambo ni mengi kwa hii nchi. So mambo cannot just be matatu.
But probably
Trevor wanted to add something.
Okay.
No, I was reminding him that some time back we had a similar crisis in Malawi.
Yeah.
And the president then, Mutharika, became Minister for Agriculture, Bingo Mutharika. And since then, Malawi has been able to sustain very high levels of food security because he made sure that he implemented at a personal level.
It was supposed to be a very poor, one of the poorest countries.
Yes, and Malawi today is what it is because the president became Minister for Agriculture.
Okay.
You know, Trevor, the point we have to accept is this.
Yeah.
This system, if it was a presidential initiative, as he brought it out, it was never meant to fail. You can't say that I'm starting it, then it means that he started it, then left it to charlatans. If it was your own intervention that you believe in, we were never meant to get here. You should have been on top of everything. The production, identifying the supplier, the distribution. You are done your farmer mapping. It was meant to be end-to-end thinking that was foolproof. And you have sufficient interventions to mitigate and to capture any risks that may interfere with the successful implementation of the program. In this case, then what the president is telling us is that I came up with a concept, marketed it, and abandoned it, left it to technocrats to run with it, without any safeguards, no safety measures to mitigate against and protect against crooks like the ones we've seen coming into this intervention. So that was irresponsibility on his part, if that is what he's saying. But I am saying, my view, the whole system, it was a setup from the beginning. He was just the promoter of an idea, but he never took personal responsibility to make sure this idea is fully implemented well. But so don't focus on the KEBS. Don't focus on NCPB. Focus on him. This was your baby. Why did you give birth to a baby and abandon the baby upon delivery?
I want to ask a question to Ruto before he answers.
Yeah.
Who is the appointing authority of the CS and even PSS?
It is the president.
It is the president.
Yes.
Now, if there is failure in that department or ministry, what action should the president take? Because saying, I've given you a job, you have failed to perform in that job. I mean, let's just break it down, even to our own staff in our own offices, or even at our home. If you are not fulfilling the terms of reference of the job I gave you, should I keep on retaining you? Especially if I know you're actually failing, you're now showing incompetence in the work.
Yeah.
So that's why we are saying. There's nothing personal against the president, but we're saying he's the responsible authority. He's the one who has put so and so, please be in charge of this docket because it's important for the country.
Okay.
But now things have come up that shows actually, well, that ministry or that department is actually messing up food security. Why should we excuse the president?
Okay, Newton, let's wind up on this.
Thank you, Trevor. You know, Trevor and Dr. Aukot and Willis are lawyers. And they know there is what we call the Bill of Rights in the Kenyan Constitution. And though I'm a layman in matters law, the little law that I know provides that somebody is innocent until proven guilty.
I thought you passed laws.
But then they want action to be taken before a legal process has been taken. I agree with Dr. Okot as far as the president is the appointing authority of the CSs. But then that would only go as far as taking political responsibility is concerned. Otherwise, the professional bit, the legal bit, has to go through the due process. And I think we should allow it to happen. But please allow me to repeat this. Sabotage, because Dr. Manduku here, my colleague, says that he has learned of a new word, sabotage, from me. We know they have been fixed. And I know I'm repeating it for the sixth time. Yeah. But surely donkey waste and stones, that's what makes me think it's sabotage. Because, nobody would do that. Somebody would just do some things, something that looks like fertilizer, something that looks like rice, and then now you present it as fertilizer. Okay. But when it is stones,
so you don't have if you don't have the capacity to deal with the sabotaging you, then it means you're incompetent.
Okay.
but you see the bag that has a donkey waste.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure they are all, there's documentation to that effect.
Yes, so they know where it came from.
So you know where it came from. So what have you done?
Of course, in due time, the culprits will be brought to book and they'll face the law.
Okay, let's see what you're saying on this fertilizer, then wind up with the political conversation here. There's a lot of movements, and I think this is aligned towards 2027, but let's see what you're saying on fertilizer first, and then we'll wind up on this conversation. In the politics, we see there Amazimio's best bet. We see there where Wetangula is a man under siege. We see there in Newto's backyard, there was a conversation about having Ndindi Nyoro come up instead of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. We'll talk about all that in just a bit. Kalu Leperayo says, fake fertilizer jeopardizes our agriculture, impacting farmers' livelihoods and food security. CS Linturi should resign, and the government must root out the cartels within the Ministry of Agriculture. Our farmers deserve better. Okay. Remy Butia says transparent distribution systems coupled with targeted support for farmers, especially at the smallholder level, can mitigate the challenges of input affordability and availability. Okay. Let's see what else you're saying. You don't leave a name, but you say, like at KQ, senior officials come up with a scheme like here, fertilizer. Farmers bought it with cash, and later, when public anger is at its highest, leaders now call for compensation, and boom, GOK allocates our cash speedy because thieves go free. Okay? Dikush says, as a legacy project for Kenya Kwanza and President Ruto, the fertilizer program should have only been solely under the government's control and those not private agencies' involvement. Simple. Sawe says, Kenya Kwanza appointment individuals with integrity issues as CSs has sadly led to a situation where their lack of credibility has become evident over time. Their dishonesty and self-serving agendas are clear, prioritizing personal gain over the welfare of Kenyans. Okay, was it over the weekend or was it on Friday?